The promise under the stars. The wind was cold that night, sweeping over the ruined battlefield like a whisper of ghosts. Broken ships lay half buried in the dirt. Smoke still rose from twisted metal. The stars above were bright, silent, and far away. A human named Jace walked slowly through the wreckage, scanning for any signs of life. His boots crunched softly on shattered glass. His scanner beeped once, then again. Something was alive nearby. Jace moved toward the signal. His hand rested on the side of his old blaster just in case. Then he heard it, a soft sound, like crying. He followed it and found a small metal pod half buried in ash. The hatch was jammed. Jace grabbed a crowbar from his pack and forced it open. Inside, curled up like a frightened animal, was a little alien girl. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes were large and silver, filled with tears. She was shaking, wrapped in a burnt cloak. She looked no older than 10. Jace stared at her for a moment. She looked up at him, afraid. "Hey," he said gently. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." She didn't speak, just stared. Jace reached out slowly, showing her his empty hands. "You're safe now. I promise." She flinched at first, but then her tiny hand reached out and grabbed his. Her fingers were cold. Jace pulled her out of the pod and wrapped his own cloak around her. She was so light, it felt like lifting a feather. He carried her back to his small camp where a fire crackled weakly and an old generator hummed. He gave her water, then some warm protein bread. She ate in silence, sitting close to the fire. "What's your name?" Jace asked. She looked up. Her voice was small. "Valari. That's a nice name." Jace smiled. "I'm Jace." She nodded but said nothing more. For the next 2 days, Valari stayed by Jace's side. She didn't talk much, but she watched everything. Her eyes were always curious, always studying him. Jace repaired what he could from the wreck, set up a signal beacon, and waited for rescue. One night, as they lay under the stars, Valari pointed up. "My people believe those stars are the souls of the old kings," she said softly. "What do you believe?" Jace asked. She thought for a moment. "I believe they are watching us." Jace chuckled. "Then we better behave." Valari turned her face toward him. "Do humans marry aliens?" Jace raised an eyebrow. "Sometimes, not very often." "Could you marry me?" she asked quietly. Jace blinked. "What?" "When I grow up," she said more seriously now. "Could you marry me?" Jace looked at her, unsure what to say. She was just a kid. It was probably her way of feeling safe, of holding on to something simple in a world that had turned dark. He smiled gently. "Sure. When you grow up, and if you still want to, I'll be waiting." Valari smiled for the first time. A real smile. It was small and warm and full of hope. "Promise?" she whispered. "Promise," Jace said. The next morning, a rescue ship arrived. It was a joint human and alien relief unit. Jace handed Valari over to her own kind. She didn't want to go, but he knelt and placed the old necklace he wore around her neck. A metal tag from his squad, engraved with his name. "Keep this," he said. "If we ever meet again, show me this. I'll remember." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'll come back when I'm ready." Jace watched as the ship flew away, carrying the little girl with silver eyes into the sky. He stood there for a long time after it vanished, staring at the stars above. Years passed. The war ended. Jace left the military and began living on a quiet planet at the edge of the systems. He fixed ships, grew vegetables, and kept to himself. Sometimes he thought of Valari, wondering where she was, if she was safe. But he never expected to see her again. Until one quiet evening, just before sunset, someone knocked on his door. He opened it and froze. A tall figure stood there, elegant, armored with glowing silver eyes. "You promised me," the woman said, and the necklace was around her neck. The alien woman at his door. Jace stood frozen in the doorway. The wind blew gently across the dry plains behind him, but he didn't feel it. His eyes were locked on the tall alien woman standing before him. She had Valari's silver eyes. Her armor shimmered with faint light, not flashy but elegant, noble. Her black and violet cloak fluttered behind her. Her face was calm, but her gaze held something deeper, like a storm hidden behind glass. "You promised me," she said again, her voice soft but unshakable. Jace's heart skipped. He looked at the pendant on her neck. The old metal tag, dirty and scratched, but still there. "Valari?" he whispered. She gave a small nod. Jace stepped back, letting her inside. His small house was warm and simple. Walls of metal and wood, a few old tools, and a kettle boiling quietly on a stove. It was a peaceful life, one that never expected her return. She stepped inside like she belonged there. "You've changed," he said. "So have you," she replied, looking around. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. Jace sat across from her at the table. Valari removed her gloves, revealing long, graceful fingers. She touched the surface of the table gently, like she was feeling old memories. How are you alive?" Jace finally asked. "After the war, they told me your kind left the sector." Valari looked into his eyes. "They wanted me hidden. I was a child of noble blood. They feared I'd speak of peace. But I never forgot you. I trained. I learned. And when I was ready, I returned." Jace shook his head slowly. "You remembered. After all these years." She leaned forward, her voice calm but strong. "I didn't just remember, I lived for it." He looked at her, searching for some joke in her eyes. But there was none. She was serious. Deadly serious. "Valari, I was just trying to comfort a child. I never meant—" "Don't lie to me." She cut him off, not with anger, but with certainty. "You made a promise. You looked me in the eyes and said you'd wait. And I waited too." Jace stood up and paced the room. The silence between them was thick. "This isn't just about an old promise, is it?" he asked. Valari's gaze hardened. "No, it's about survival now. And choices." "What do you mean?" She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the sky was darkening. Shadows stretched across the dirt. Her voice dropped low. "I left my world for you. I abandoned my family. And now, they want me dead. My return breaks a sacred agreement. I was promised to another, a powerful commander. But I refused. I told them I belonged to a human." Jace's chest tightened. "You said you'd marry me when I grew up," she said, turning toward him. "Well, I'm grown now, and I'm yours unless you send me away." He stared at her, stunned. "And if I do?" Her face showed no fear. "They'll find me and kill me, but not before they burn this place to the ground." Jace moved toward her. "You brought them here?" "They were already watching you," she said. "They knew I would return to you. They feared it. They feared the bond we made." "A bond?" Jace asked. Valari touched the necklace. "This is not just a memory, Jace. It's a marker. Your name is known in our systems. The human who comforted the noble girl, who gave her hope. Some call it weakness, others call it destiny." He turned away, hands on his head. "I'm no hero," he muttered. "I'm just a mechanic with an old promise I never thought would matter." She walked to him, stood close. "It matters to me. And now, it matters to them." A sudden beep interrupted the moment. Jace turned to the control panel by the door. Red lights flashed. "Motion sensors." "Someone's out there," he said. Valari's voice went cold. "They found us." Outside, the wind rose. Shadows moved across the edge of the plain. 4 dark figures stepped out of the brush, wearing armor like liquid night. Glowing red symbols marked their chest plates. They carried weapons unlike anything Jace had seen. "Who are they?" Jace asked. Valari's eyes narrowed. "Death Seekers, trained to hunt nobles who betray the pact." "What do we do?" She pulled out a blade from her cloak. It shimmered with violet light. "We fight." "I'm not a soldier anymore, Valari," Jace said, his voice shaking. She looked at him calm. "You don't have to be. Just stand with me. One more time. The house trembled as something heavy landed nearby. A dropship. The front door lit, up with a red glow. They were coming. Valari stepped forward, raising her blade. Let them come. Jace looked at her. The little girl he once saved, now a warrior standing tall in his home. He reached for his old blaster from the wall and took a breath. I guess I'm still keeping that promise. Hunted by her kind, the sky turned dark as firelight flickered on the horizon. Jace stood beside Valari, heart pounding, his blaster warm in his hand. The dropship outside had landed with a hiss of steam, and armored figures moved like shadows. Around his home, inside everything was quiet, too quiet. Valari's breathing was steady. Her hand rested calmly on the hilt of her blade. She was no longer the girl Jace had once saved. She was something else now. Trained. Fearless. Dangerous. How many are out there? Jace whispered. 4 I saw, Valari replied. But more may come. They don't send just one team. They watch, they wait. A sudden thud hit the side of the house. Jace flinched. Valari didn't move. They won't attack yet, she said. They want to scare you, confuse you, make you panic. Jace shook his head. Well, it's working. A voice echoed outside. It was metallic, cold, and cruel. Valari of House Wren, the voice said. You are ordered to return. Surrender. Now, and the human will be spared. Valari stepped toward the window, blade in hand. That's not true, is it? Jace asked. She looked at him, her eyes glowing in the low light. No. They never let humans live after bonding. Bonding? Jace asked again, confused. Valari took a deep breath. When you gave me that necklace and made that promise, I accepted it. I marked you as mine, Jace. In my people's ancient ways, it is more than a joke. It is a vow. He stared at her. You're telling me... We're what? Married? Not yet, she said. But they think we are, and that's enough for them to kill you. Outside, footsteps circled the house. Armor clanked against rock and metal. Jace backed away from the window. What do they want from you? Valari looked tired for a moment. Not weak, but burdened. Was born to a royal bloodline. They trained me to become a leader. But I chose another path. I chose peace. And they hate me for it. I spoke of unity between humans and my kind. They called it betrayal. They said I shamed the blood. And... Coming to me? Jace asked. Was the final break? She said. You were the reason I survived. You showed me kindness when the galaxy showed me war. I held on to that moment every day. But now it's war again, Jace said bitterly. Valari nodded. But not like before. Now I fight for something real. Suddenly the roof shook. A hole blasted open in the corner. Smoke and sparks rained down. One of the armored assassins dropped into the room with a heavy thud. Jace fired without thinking. 2 quick shots. The assassin deflected both with a glowing shield and rushed forward. Before Jace could react again, Valari moved. She didn't walk. She glided. In one clean motion, her blade sliced through the air, sparks dancing from metal. The assassin tried to counter, but Valari spun behind him and drove the blade into his side. He collapsed. Motionless, Valari stood over the body, calm as ever. One down. More thuds echoed across the rooftop. They're coming in from all sides, Jace said, voice tight. Valari grabbed his hand. We have to run. They rushed toward the back exit. Jace hit the door controls. The panel blinked red. Locked, he muttered. Not for long, she said. Valari stabbed her blade into the panel. Sparks flew. The door hissed open, and cold air swept inside. They ran out into the night. Behind them, the house caught fire. Another explosion tore through the front wall. Red flames rose into the sky. Jace turned back. That was my home. Valari didn't stop. You can build a new home, but you only get one life. They reached the edge of the forest that surrounded the base of the mountains. It was dark and wild, full of ancient trees and hidden paths. Do they know this place? Jace asked. Valari nodded. They know everything, but they don't know what I've become. They traveled fast, moving through thorns and roots, crossing cold rivers and climbing steep hills. Hours passed. The night grew deeper. When they finally stopped, Jace fell to his knees, gasping for air. Where are we going? He asked. Valari pointed to the distant peaks. There's a hidden port on the other side. A ship waits for me. It can take us to safety. What kind of ship? One that belongs to those who still believe in peace, she said. I've been building a network in secret. Leaders, rebels, thinkers across many systems. And you are the symbol they've been waiting for. Jace blinked. Me? Valari knelt beside him. You made a promise, not just to me, but to the future. I was just trying to comfort a scared girl, Jace said. And you changed the course of the stars, she whispered. Behind them, the night was quiet for a moment. Then, a soft click echoed. Jace turned slowly. A shadow stood on the ridge, holding a weapon aimed at Valari. She is property of the Wren house, the voice growled. Before Jace could move, the shadow pulled the trigger. Escape through the void. The shot rang out like thunder. Jace lunged forward without thinking, grabbing Valari and pulling her to the ground. Just as the plasma bolt seared past her head, it struck the tree behind them, exploding in a burst of blue light and burning leaves. They rolled down a slope, dust and rocks flying. Jace's arm scraped against a jagged stone, but he didn't stop. He wrapped his arms around Valari as they crashed into the lower brush. Above them, the assassin's boots hit the dirt. Don't move, the voice growled. You belong to the House of Wren. Surrender the human and your death will be painless. Valari's breath was hot against Jace's neck. He's fast, better trained, too close. What do we do? Jace whispered. She slowly reached into her belt and handed him a small silver disc. Throw it behind us, she whispered. On my signal. The assassin moved closer, step steady, weapon ready. You have 10 seconds, he said. Choose wisely. Valari's voice rose sharply. Now! Jace threw the disc. It hit a rock and flashed bright as the sun. The assassin screamed, blinded. Valari sprang up and slammed her elbow into his jaw, then drove her knee into his chest. The assassin staggered. She grabbed his arm, twisted it, and used his own momentum to flip him over her shoulder. He crashed to the ground with a grunt. She didn't stop. Her blade was out in a second, pressing against his neck. You have failed, she said coldly. Tell your masters. She moved fast, striking a pressure point on his neck. He went limp, unconscious. Jace got to his feet, heart racing. Where? Did you learn that? Valari glanced at him. Everywhere. They didn't wait. More were coming. She led him through the forest, faster now, her senses sharp, her posture like a predator in motion. Hours later, they reached the mountain pass. Jace looked up, eyes wide. This is where the air gets thin. We'll freeze. Valari nodded. Better to freeze than die by their hands. They climbed through the dark. Wind howled through narrow gaps, and icy mist covered their clothes. Jace's fingers went numb. Valari gave him her scarf and wrapped her arm around his waist to help him stay upright. At the highest ridge, she pointed ahead. Through the clouds, Jace saw a hidden landing pad made of black stone. Small lights blinked in the snow. A silver ship sat on the platform, sleek, fast, unlike anything he'd seen. That's our ride, she said. But before they could move, a bright flare lit up the sky behind them. They've locked on, Valari said sharply. We're being tracked. How long? Jace asked. She looked back at the glowing trail rising into the sky. Minutes, they ran, sliding down snowy rocks, dodging sharp cliffs. Alarms from the ship activated as they approached. A voice came through a hidden speaker. Identify yourself. Valari stepped forward. Code 11-9, Black Star Initiate. Valari Wren, requesting emergency extraction. The ship's engines powered up. The door slid open. Get in, she shouted. Jace was halfway up the ramp when the first blast hit. A nearby cliff exploded in flames. Rocks rained down. Jace turned and saw a new group of assassins descending from the sky on anti-grav boots. 6 of them, fully armed. Valari grabbed Jace's hand and pulled him inside. The door slammed shut, and the ship lifted off just as another bolt hit the side. Systems sparked. Alarms rang. The pilot turned. She was an alien woman with metal implants across her face and glowing blue eyes. You weren't supposed to bring guests, the pilot growled. Change of plan, Valari said. They're following us, the pilot warned. 3 hunter ships, faster than us. Valari sat in the co-pilot seat. Then we head for the void. Jace blinked. What's the void? The pilot stared at Valari. You're crazy. Valari looked calm. They won't follow us there. Why not? Jace asked. Because it's cursed, the pilot muttered. Ships that enter don't come back. Jace looked at Valari. And that's where we're going? Yes, she said, because it's our only chance. The ship shook as enemy vessels closed in. Bolts of plasma raced past the windows. Shields flickered. Jace sat down and held on as the pilot growled something in her native tongue and pushed the ship's engine to full power. They entered the void. The stars vanished. Everything outside the window turned black. No planets, no light, no sound, just endless shifting shadows. Jace felt like the ship was floating in a dream. Or a nightmare. Where are we? He asked. Valari didn't answer right away. Her eyes were locked on a strange shape in the distance, a moving cloud that twisted and turned like it was alive. This is the edge of forgotten space, she said. Some say it's the graveyard of old gods. Others say it's where time dies. And we're flying into it? Jace asked. Valari smiled faintly. I trust you to keep me safe. Before Jace could respond, the ship's lights flickered. Deep hum vibrated through the walls. Something was out there, something watching. The duel of honor. The ship drifted in the black silence of the void. For hours nothing moved. No stars, no enemies. Just the quiet hum of the ship and the soft breath of those inside. Jace stared out the window. It felt like they had left the universe behind. Even sound felt different here. Slower. Deeper. Like it came from the bones. Valari sat across from him, sharpening her blade. Her hands were calm, but her eyes never stopped watching. Every few minutes, she glanced toward the shadows outside. Something was out there, even if it hadn't moved yet. Jace broke the silence. Why did you bring us here, really? Valari looked up. Because it is the only place where the old rules don't apply. What does that mean? In our culture, she said, a duel of honor can be demanded. But it must take place outside any empire, outside all protection. Only in the void can it be done freely. Jace leaned forward. A duel? With who? Valari didn't blink. With my old suitor, Commander Threx. He's the one who sent the assassins. He's the one who ordered my death. Jace's chest tightened. So you're going to fight him? Yes, she said simply. You could die, Jace said. Valari gave a small smile. I know. And if you lose? He takes me back in chains, and you die with me. Jace stood up. Then we're not doing this. Valari stood too. This is not your choice. He looked into her eyes, silver and cold as a winter star. You can't face him alone. I must, she said. That is the law. Just then, the ship jolted. Alarms beeped. The pilot shouted from the cockpit. Ship detected coming through a void gate. It's him! Valari turned to the window. A massive warship glided through the shadows. Sleek, black, and marked with the blood-red sigil of House Threx. It moved like a beast with teeth hidden under steel. He came, she whispered. A moment later, a message played through the comms. It was a voice Jace had never heard, but he felt its weight immediately. Valari of House Wren. You dare call for the right of the void? Valari stepped forward. I do. Then it shall be done, the voice said. Land your vessel on the hollow platform. Bring your champion if you dare. The comms went silent. Jace turned to Valari. What champion? Valari didn't answer. The ship landed on a floating slab of metal, the hollow platform. It had no guardrails, no lights, no walls, just an open circle above endless darkness. Two figures stood on the far end. One was tall and armored in black and red, Commander Threx. The other was his second. Both watched in silence. Valari stepped out first. Her cloak flowed behind her like smoke. Jace followed, blaster at his side. Commander Threx removed his helmet. He was pale, scarred, and cruel. His eyes burned like fire. You've made a mistake, Valari, he said. You belong to me. I belong to no one, she said. He turned to Jace. This is your choice? A mechanic? Valari's voice was steel. He is more than you will ever be. Then let the void decide, Threx said. He pulled out his blade. Thick, jagged, and glowing red. Valari's blade was thinner, curved like a crescent moon, glowing with pale light. They circled each other. Jace watched from the edge, breath held. The duel began. Threx struck first, fast and brutal. His blade came down like lightning. Valari dodged, rolled, and answered with a sharp cut to his side. Sparks flew. Metal clashed. The sound of war echoed through the hollow void. They moved like shadows, each step precise, each breath measured. But Threx was stronger. He pushed her back, blow after blow, until Valari dropped to one knee. Jace stepped forward. Valari, she looked up, eyes steady, blood on her lip. Stay back. Threx laughed. You always were weaker. Valari stood. But I am not alone, she whispered. She didn't look at Jace. She didn't need to. She knew. Jace understood. He didn't have a blade. He didn't have armor. But he had his word. And that meant something in the void. He stepped onto the platform. Then you fight both of us, Jace said. Threx growled. You break the rules. Valari smiled. No. He made a promise. And here in the void, promises are stronger than blood. Threx charged. Jace fired his blaster. Threx deflected it, but it gave Valari the opening. She spun, blade flashing. It sliced across Threx's chest. He staggered. Another shot. This time Threx's leg. He dropped to one knee. Valari moved in close. This is for the girl you tried to kill, she said, and with one final strike, her blade pierced his armor. He fell. The platform went silent. Jace rushed to her side. Are you okay? Valari nodded, slowly, breathing hard. It's over. No, Jace said. This is just the beginning. She looked at him, and for the first time there was peace in her eyes. They had survived the void, and now, the stars waited. The secret she carries. The duel was over. Commander Threx lay motionless on the cold metal platform, his armor cracked, his pride shattered. The red sigil of his house no longer glowed. It faded slowly, as if the void itself had judged him and found him unworthy. Valari stood still, covered in bruises and cuts. Her blade trembled in her hand, not from fear, but from the weight of what she had done. Jace walked beside her, silence stretched between them, deep and strange, as if the void wasn't finished watching. The pilot's voice crackled over the comms. The other ships are retreating. His followers are running. They have no leader now. Valari didn't reply. She simply stared at Threx's body. You okay? Jace asked. Physically? Yes, she said. But this was more than a fight. They returned to the ship. The pilot lifted off from the floating platform. The hollow faded into shadow as the engines roared and the ship turned toward the stars again. Jace sat in the corner, watching Valari. She was quiet. Too quiet. You did it, he said. You beat him. No, she whispered. I ended something, but I also began something worse. Jace frowned. What are you not telling me? Valari looked at him, her eyes tired. There's something I've hidden from you. Not because I didn't trust you, but because I needed to protect you. From what? She turned to the console and pulled up a hologram. Glowing symbols filled the air. Ancient writings, maps, star charts, and faces. Names of nobles, rebels, leaders. Some were alien, some were human. What is this? Jace asked. A network, Valari replied. One I created in secret. After the war ended, I traveled across 12 systems, speaking to those who had lost everything. Some hated the Empire. Others feared the silence that followed the battles. But they all remembered one thing. She turned toward him. They remembered you. Jace blinked. Me? Yes, she said. The human who saved a lost alien girl. The one who offered kindness without expecting anything. Your story was told in whispers, and those whispers became sparks. Now there's a fire waiting to rise. He stood slowly, staring at the holograms. You used my name? I used your symbol, she said. Your act of mercy gave hope to those who had none. They don't follow me because of blood or war. They follow me because I followed you. Jace sat down heavily. You built a rebellion. No, she said. I built a future. One that doesn't need warlords or assassins. One that believes humans and aliens can walk the same path. But they'll come for you, Jace said. For both of us. They already have, she said. And we're still standing. A new message flashed across the console. The pilot swore under her breath. Incoming transmission, Royal Seal, from the throne world. Valari froze. Jace looked at her. What is it? She whispered. My mother, the message played. A tall alien woman with sharp features and glowing robes appeared in the air. Her voice was calm, but every word felt like a blade. Daughter, your dishonor has spread across the stars. You have killed your suitor, broken the pact, and threatened the balance of our people. But we will not kill you. No. We offer a choice. Return and be judged. Or run and be hunted forever. Choose wisely. The message ended. Jace looked at Valari. You have to choose. Valari nodded. And I have already chosen. She opened a locked case from the ship's wall and took out a sealed orb. It pulsed with soft white light. What is that? Jace asked. The seed of a new alliance, Valari replied. It holds ancient codes, ones that can unlock the archives of the old council. If we activate it in the right place, we can call for a union between worlds, not under war, not under power, but under choice. And where do we go? She pointed to the center of the map. A distant system, hidden and forgotten. Terra Prime, she said. An old human colony lost during the First Galactic War. It holds the last working beacon of the High Unity. Jace stared at her. This is why you came back, not just for me. Valari's voice shook slightly. I came back because of you. But I stayed because I believe in us. He stepped closer. Then let's finish what we started. She reached out and placed the orb in his hand. When the time comes, only you can activate it, not me. Why? Because the old code only responds to one thing, she said. A human who gave something without asking for anything in return. The ship's engines shifted. The pilot shouted, "Ship's on our tail. 3 destroyers." Valari grabbed Jace's hand. Then we go now. No more running. We bring the fire to them. As the ship turned toward Terra Prime, the stars ahead seemed to burn brighter. The galaxy was watching, and the secret she carried was now in human hands. The promise fulfilled. The ship soared through black space, chased by fire. Behind them, 3 destroyers closed in. They belonged to the High Empire, fast, deadly, and without mercy. Their weapons charged, their engines howled, and their mission was clear: destroy the traitor and the human she loved. Inside the small rebel ship, the air was tense. Jace sat in the co-pilot's seat, clutching the glowing orb. It pulsed slowly as if alive. Each beat reminded him of the promise he once made. A simple joke to comfort a scared girl. Now, that promise held the key to uniting worlds. Valari stood behind him, one hand on his shoulder. Her eyes never left the stars ahead. "How far to Terra Prime?" Jace asked. The pilot growled. 5 minutes if we live that long." A blast rocked the ship. Red lights flashed. Warning sirens screamed. "Shields down to 30%, the pilot shouted. Jace looked at Valari. "If we don't make it," she stopped him. "We will." Another hit shook the ship. Panels exploded. Fire burst from the side wall. The pilot screamed as smoke filled the cockpit. Jace grabbed the controls. "I've flown junkers, not warships." "Then you learn now," Valari said, strapping in beside him. The stars twisted as they dropped into low orbit. The planet came into view. A cold world wrapped in clouds and ice. Mountains stretched across the surface like the bones of ancient gods. Deep beneath those peaks lay the last working beacon of the old Unity. They had to reach it. The destroyers followed them into atmosphere, guns ready. "They're locking on," Jace yelled. Valari closed her eyes. "Take us into the storm." What storm? Then he saw it. A swirling cyclone of lightning, wind, and ice that covered half the planet. A place no sane pilot would enter. "You're insane," Jace muttered. "So, are you?" she said. They dove into the storm. Lightning flashed all around them. Wind slammed the ship like a hammer. Metal screamed. Ice cracked the windows, but the destroyers didn't follow. "They won't risk the storm," Valari said. "They think we'll die in here." "They might be right," Jace shouted. "Not today." Below them, a structure appeared through the mist. Ancient. Buried. A tower built of black stone with glowing symbols that pulsed in rhythm with the orb in Jace's hand. "That's the beacon," he shouted. "Land now," Valari commanded. They crash-landed. The ship skidded across the ice, metal tearing, sparks flying. Finally, it stopped against a wall of frozen rock. Jace coughed, pulling himself from the wreckage. Valari limped beside him, one arm bleeding, the other still holding her blade. They ran through the snow toward the tower. Wind screamed. The cold bit deep, but the orb glowed brighter with every step. Inside the tower, everything was silent. It was like stepping into another time. Symbols glowed along the walls. Statues of human and alien leaders stood side by side, covered in frost. And at the center, the beacon core, a platform surrounded by energy, waiting. Jace stepped forward. "This is it," Valari said. "What if it doesn't work?" Jace asked. "Then we die forgotten," she said. "But if it does, the galaxy will remember." Jace stepped onto the platform. The orb in his hands pulsed faster. Then it floated from his palms, rising into the air, spinning. Light exploded. Around them, the entire room trembled. A voice spoke, old, deep, and not quite human. "Identify your purpose." Jace took a breath. "I made a promise, a long time ago, to a girl who believed in something better. I came here to keep it. Do you offer unity or control?" "Unity," Jace said. "Freely given." "By what right do you request activation?" Jace stepped closer. "By no right, only hope." The orb flashed. Then silence. Then light. The beacon roared to life. Energy raced through the tower. A pulse shot into the sky, then into space, then across stars. One by one, old satellites, broken systems, and hidden stations lit up. Messages awakened. Doors opened. Forgotten paths were remembered. In deep space, rebel ships received the signal. On royal planets, secret groups watched in shock as the ancient beacon spoke again. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy paused and listened. Jace collapsed to his knees. Valari rushed to him, held him tight. "You did it," she whispered. "We did it," he said weakly. Outside, the storm cleared. The destroyers hovered in the sky, but they didn't fire. Not anymore. Something had changed. A single message echoed from the beacon in every language. A new pact has been offered, not by blood, not by war, but by choice. Valari turned to Jace. Now they can't silence us, not anymore. He looked at her, tired but smiling. You're not the scared girl I once met. And you're not the man who joked under the stars, she said. You're more. He touched her hand. But my promise hasn't changed. She leaned in, eyes soft. Then say it again, he whispered. When you grow up, I'll be waiting. She smiled. I'm here now. And this time the stars didn't just watch, they celebrated.